This is Frank Consella with the Crested Butte Zone podcast, and we are getting some colder nights and maybe even some snow on the higher peaks later this week, so it seemed appropriate to have a ski-related interview this week, and it's a good one. We could have talked about it for hours, so my guest this week, we talk about the Olympics because she did go to the 92 Olympics. We talk about her ski racing career, and then we talk about her switch to Big Mountain Freeskiing and filming for Warren Miller and Matchstick Productions, and all the way through today. More of a family-oriented skier right now, but I definitely had an awesome time talking to Wendy Fisher, and I'm sure you're going to enjoy this interview too, so let's get to it. My guest this week is Wendy Fisher. So Wendy, tell us a little bit about yourself and where you're from.
I grew up in Lake Tahoe and started skiing at Squaw, and I've pretty much been a skier my whole life. And, back in the day when everybody wasn't so sports crazy, I basically grew up water skiing in the summer and snow skiing in the winter. And so that used to be a huge passion of mine, water skiing as well. And then I got into ski racing, did well on the West Coast, and then went to Burke Mountain Academy in Vermont to ski academy and made the U.S. ski team my sophomore year. And I did that for 7 years, winning the U.S. Nationals here in Crested Butte in 1991. And that, weirdly, was the first race in history of ski racing to receive prize money.
Really?
And a lot of people don't know that. Yeah. Because we were amateurs, we weren't allowed to earn money, but that was starting to break down. And Lake Placid, New York, was the first race that you could receive, and I won. We were able to receive coins, but they're like decorative. I still have them in my savings account. So it wasn't really money. And then there was one other race, and then Crested Butte was the first race that they actually gave you prize cash money. We first got gold dust. We got little pouches of gold dust. And then we traded it in for money. It was very weird. But in all the world, Crested Butte, the U.S. Nationals in 1991 was the first race that someone could actually take prize money.
But they had like the U.S. Pro Tour, so that was actually...
But you're not amateur anymore, you're a pro.
Okay.
So we were amateur athletes, we're Olympic... Yeah, so when you are an amateur, you can go to the Olympics, but if you got paid money... Then you can't. You can't. Paid money that they know of. Right? So you could sign contracts with ski companies and get money indirectly by winning a race, but you couldn't stand on a podium and be given a check.
Right.
And so that was when things started changing, and then that's when amateur sports stayed amateur, but you could make money.
Okay. And that's about when the Olympics just started. I mean, the dream team and basketball and all
exactly.
That
Then all of that started coming in. So I won the most money in 1991 during the U.S. Nationals. I think it was $13,000 maybe. Or it could have been $1,300. I have it. I don't know. Probably $1,300. But that was one of my best race series here in Crested Butte, and I remember visiting and they had a little parade on Elk Avenue for the U.S. ski team to go down. And I remember it was just a small little town, and I thought to myself, who would ever live here?
Here you are.
And here I am. I went on to go to the 1992 Winter Olympics in Albertville, France. And that was not quite as successful as the Nationals here. I qualified for the downhill slalom combined and giant slalom. And the downhill combined was the first event. And on the third and last training run, I flew off of the waterfall jump. And I flew about 140 feet, knocked myself out, had a concussion from it, and broke my thumb, hurt both my MCLs, cracked a rib, and bruised my ankle bone, and was not able to compete in any of my events.
Oh, no.
Yeah. So, and then 94 is when I quit or retired from ski racing, and I had a scholarship from CU, But by the time I quit ski racing, I was too old for NCAA. And then Sierra Nevada College out of Lake Tahoe was an NCSA school, but I don't think they have NCSA anymore. But anyway, they took all us former U.S. ski team, Norwegian, whatever they could take. We're all too old for NCAA, and they recruited us. And so I raced a year and a half, actually mostly just a year. As I was rolling into my second season is when I put a stop to ski racing and decided I didn't want to race anymore, not even for a scholarship. So that was back in the day of faxes. My dad worked in San Francisco. So I wrote my dad a letter, and I said, I'm giving up my scholarship. I'm quitting college, and I'm going to hit the road. And this is like in December. So I'm going to hit the road, and I was really into mountain biking, and I had to find another sport. So my plan was to go find a place where I could go to school and mountain bike race. So I had to find an area that had that combination. But it was during the winter, and so I was going to do my last hurrah skiing one last time on this road trip. So I faxed him that letter to San Francisco, and I was in Tahoe, and I put a door underneath my a letter underneath my coach's door, and said, I'm done. I don't think I ever saw him again. I just took off. My roommates woke up with me there that morning. I didn't say anything to them. By the time they got back from school later that evening, I had packed up my whole room, everything, and I said, I'm out of here. And I basically hit the road.
Wow. Crazy.
Yeah. And there's a few weird things that made me make that decision. One was I was in Truckee or Tahoe City at a club, and there's music playing and stuff, and I ran into some people in the freeskiing industry, and they said, like, Wendy, K2's thinking of doing this movie, The Performers. There used to be 4 guys, but we want to put a girl element into it, and we thought of you. But you're going to school, right? And I looked at him and I'm like, I'll quit. and then I ran into Kim Reichhelm at a ski event where we were team captains. And this is like in November. We're the pros, and it's like the Tropicana girls and actors, and we're going up against each other, and I just met her, and I could barely even push out of the starting gate. She's like, oh, Wendy Fisher, former Olympian, she's going to kick my butt. And I looked at her, I'm like, no, I'm not. Like, I have no energy for this anymore. We got down, I barely got down the course, and I looked at her, I'm like, I can't do this anymore. And so she prompted kind of the road trip, like, oh, you should come visit me in Crested Butte. And so the combination of that movie being mentioned and maybe me being the female, and I hadn't even entered the free skiing world yet, you know, but just the thought of doing something different, and then her saying come visit her, and so then I was like, well, maybe I should quit and maybe map out a road trip to investigate colleges that had mountain biking venues. And then that's when it kind of I just fell into place that I packed up my car and I called friends in different locations and hit the road and ended up here. So I don't know, maybe I answered like 5 questions.
You did,
that one.
That's okay. Now we can back up. And
Okay.
So you started to ski when you were super young, and
Yes.
Was racing always going to be a thing? Was that like a family thing, or did you just decide that it was fun and you wanted to do it on your own?
So I was born outside of Davis, and that's where, and I have 2 older brothers, Craig and Mark. And so my parents used to do the road trip thing. They would get a cabin at Alpine or at Squaw or West Shore. And so every weekend in the winter, they'd share it with a family, and they would bring us up to ski. So then my brothers started becoming, my parents put them in the Squaw Valley race team. So they started racing. I was little Mighty Mite, because I was too young for the race team. Yeah. But my parents, of course, because I don't remember very well, but apparently I was obsessed with being with my brothers who were older, and they would come in and I'd line up all the kids' boots when they'd come in for lunch, and so their coach would always be like, Wendy, get your stuff on and come out. And so I'd be kind of too young for the group, but he'd always have me come out. His name was Paul Arthur, and if you watch McConkey, the movie, he's interviewed in the movie. But he was just an awesome coach, and he would tell all the older kids not to pass me and that I got to follow the coach, and everyone kind of just took care of me. And so I think I just loved the energy, and I wanted to ski. I guess I loved skiing. My parents would say they'd find me on a rainy day they'd go in to pick me up at the ski school and be like, "Where's Wendy?" "Oh, she's out on, immigrant or whatever the chair was down there." And it'd be raining, and I'd be the only one on the chair. And my parents were like, "Wendy, what are you doing? It's raining." And apparently I'd be like, "Oh, it is." Something silly. Yeah, it just didn't faze me. Yeah. But so my brothers raced, and then I fell into racing. And, there just wasn't anything else back then. It was bump skiing or ski racing. Yeah. But our team, we free skied all the time, right? I mean, back then it wasn't such a grind like it is now. Like, you have to be skiing gates at this time. I mean, we would just run around the ski area and have fun. And, oh, by the way, we're going to go around gates. And I just started doing well. I mean, at the age of 12, I won, I think, almost every race that my parents put me in. And I don't remember thinking much about it. But, I won the overall series. And so, you didn't just free ski. Right. You were in a program, and so racing was it. And I loved it. And kind of a sidebar of the whole racing and loving it is my oldest brother. He's the reason we moved to Tahoe. He was dyslexic, and he did all sports. He was a total jock, football player, soccer player, swimmer. But in the wintertime, he told my parents, all I want to do is ski. I don't want to do anything else. And my parents noticed that he did better in school. And there's a teacher of his that said, Mark does better in the winter. And, and it's crazy because he's traveling back and forth. So my parents were like, well, all he wants to do is ski. Let's move to Tahoe. So we moved to Tahoe pretty much because of that. And my parents were sick of commuting. Mm-hmm. And unfortunately, at the age of he was 13 and I was 6, and on one of our big free ski team things is called Fox and Hounds. We're playing a game, and it's a high-speed game that you can't play anymore, probably. You get kicked off the mountain, right? So the fox wears a scarf, and the hounds chase the fox. I think I've seen this
on a Warren Miller.
Yes.
They had who did they have?
It was in Steamboat, and maybe Billy Kid or... Yeah, so they talked about it. So it was a real game that we played. And so my oldest brother, Mark, was the fox. My other brother, Craig, caught him. So Craig became the fox. And we were all hounds. And I was the youngest, so I was very off the back. Right. But I saw a teammate of mine get on this chairlift. So I'm like, well, that's where I must go to follow the whole trail of kids. And I got to the top, and she waited for me. And she said, "Wendy, your brother fell, Mark." She took me to him. And unfortunately, he had passed away. And so I skied up to him, and I remember looking right at him, seeing his blue lips, and thinking, he's dead. And then I remember hearing the patroller saying, "Who's this little girl?" And the teammate who brought me there said it's his sister. And he's like, "Get her the hell out of here." And then I remember people, skiing me down the mountain. Wow. And
so you fell off the chair?
No. So... he was already off the chair. He was chasing my brother with the rest of the team, and no one really saw it. So what we think happened is he was skiing very fast, and it was whoop-de-doos. Sure. And he must have hit one of the whoop-de-doos and sent himself very high in the air and broke his neck on impact.
Wow. Oh,
yeah.
That's awful.
So it's awful, and so long ago. But I think that's been a little bit of my drive to keep skiing in my life, because maybe it didn't help that my parents told me so many stories about him, but he's the reason we got into it, and we all loved it. And I think what helped me, and I always question how I got into big mountain skiing and a really risk-taking aspect of skiing, but I feel like it's my parents that really they didn't make the issue skiing. Your brother passed away skiing, but he's the reason we're here. He loved it. He wouldn't want you guys to stop. We had his service up at Squaw, and we had him cremated. And that summer, we hiked from the tram to this area, and we buried him at Squaw. So my parents very much made it like, we're not stopping because of this. Yeah. This is just a hiccup. This is awful. But, so they made it not be... Skiing was not the scary part.
Not the problem.
That's not the problem. Yeah. And so, I guess we just kept running with it.
Were they must have been big skiers too to get you guys all into it early?
Yeah, no, I mean, they were just call, my dad grew up in San Francisco, and they would, he went to Berkeley, my mom went to Berkeley, and the thing was to go up to Cherbourg and party and, the common thing. So they were just, they just liked skiing. Yeah. But no, they weren't competitors. They weren't serious. It was just a fun recreation sport.
Gotcha. Let's back up one more time. So you were doing really well. So you went to the East Coast to a ski academy because that's what people did. Yeah. Maybe still do, but no, I think they probably go to Vail, not more now.
There's more competition for sure than the big academies that were back east. But it became a school thing. My parents, I had my brother Craig, who's also older. He didn't like the coach that we were growing up with, but it was really the high school. They knew we were the ski family in incline. And the principal of the high school told my parents if Craig misses more than 7 days in a semester, we'll drop his grade level. And so they put it in, we had to do something. And my parents, and my brother had heard about Burke from someone else. And so whoever the boy was talked it up, and Craig told them, I want to go to the school Burke. But he didn't really look into anything else. And then Shane went a few years later, Shane McConkey, and then I went the year after. But yeah, so I was put in the same situation. Like, your daughter, we're going to drop grade level. And so we just went off back east, and I loved it. I mean, I don't regret that move at all. Yeah. It was a different environment, but I loved ski racing. So I didn't really miss, even though we free skied so much, I didn't really miss it because I was in a school full of kids and we skied and trained, and I loved training and I loved working hard at being a better ski racer. So I don't feel like there was any time lost being able to free ski.
Gotcha. Yeah. Well, then let's fast forward one more time then, and so like the event in Crested Butte, what was your discipline then as a racer?
All of it. We did it all. So Olympics is one thing, or World Championships, you get picked to do a certain discipline, and someone might get picked to do them all. But nationals, you're thrown in it all. Like, whether you're a downhiller, you still compete in the slalom. Canadians would come down, college kids. So it's like whoever's the best in the U.S. or North America. And so I placed second in the slalom, second in the GS, second in the Super G, fifth in the downhill, and won the overall. And that's the era of Peekaboo Street, Eva Tredokins, Diane Roth, names that maybe go way just too far back in the racing world for people to know. But
I know all of it.
Yeah, so I mean, it was a big freaking deal. Like, I did amazing. It was great, but unfortunately my head was not tied on right. And in the end, and I tell people, I feel like there's three main elements to be a successful athlete, not just in skiing, but you have to have talent. That helps. Hard work. Yeah. And your psyche, like who can mentally get through shit. Right. And I felt I had talent because, when I was younger, it came very easy, and I sure didn't work hard back then. I don't remember paying attention to coaches, like I just went down courses and waved to my parents, and it was very nonchalant. And then when I got to Burke, I worked my butt off, and I always worked my butt off. I loved working hard, but it came down to the mental side, and that was my biggest struggle. That was a big struggle for me, and I should have gone away from that race series being fuller than life and building on it, but I just had a lot of mental downfalls.
As far as confidence or
confidence, what? Yep, confidence. And, I have removed myself from ski racing for so long, and I've been able to reflect, and I've had different avenues of reflection back to what the hell went wrong. Because I feel like things went wrong, and I should have made the 94 Olympics, but I just really couldn't mentally keep it together. And I reflect back, and when I first left the ski team, I said I was burnt out. And then people would say, oh, ski racing, it ruins skiing for people. They get burnt out. But now that I have had more time, I wasn't burnt out because I was eager to show up for training, eager to show up for the racing. I loved going around gates, and I loved working out hard. I wasn't burnt out. For me, it was just emotionally a hard place to be. It's tough. The
All
competitive
the time.
ski world, it's a team, but you're an individual athlete, and people don't realize that you're traveling around with your competitors. Now, if you make a decent amount of money, you can probably get your own room, and you could probably stay in a different hotel.
Get your own coach. You hear about those all the time.
And that's always hard. I mean, I was on that era. I had a teammate who tried to have her own coach, and it was still mentally hard to pull yourself away from the team because you're going against the grain, because that's not what you're allowed to do. So there's a lot of things that come into play, and one was when I made the team, I made it, 20 of us made the training team. Half of them you pal around with, half of them you don't. It doesn't really matter. But as you climb the pyramid and you're on the top of the pyramid, you might be traveling with 5 girls. You end up rooming with the same one all the time, who at one time was a friend, and it starts to diminish that you're not friends, and then you don't even talk to each other, and it was just a really rough environment. And I started having flashbacks to when I was at Squaw Valley at 6 and 7, and how much fun and skiing used to be. And so but I loved racing. So I now take it back. I didn't burn out on racing. I didn't, because I still would thrive I would still want to hop in a slalom course if I could, or GS. I would suck, but it really came down to emotionally, it was not what I mentally was cracked up to handle, because ski racing to me was fun. And I go to ski races and goof around with teammates or other teammates, and I wouldn't think about the task at hand. I was a better skier when I didn't overthink it. So then when you're at the World Cup and everyone's thinking, and you're just hanging out, twiddling your thumbs, and no one's really talking or socializing or goofing around.
Right.
I felt very alone, and all of a sudden I was just like, wow, this just isn't what I thought I was getting into, And it could have already been me too. And, I don't want to blame like teammates or this or that, but it definitely was just an element that I was like, wow, I thought I'd be goofing around and laughing at all levels. And I'm just not anymore. I feel very alone and isolated. So, and then the World Cup coach I didn't get along with. I didn't like him. The B team coach was great. He'd build me back up to be with the A team. And then the A team coach, we didn't work well together. I'd be back to the B team. So you don't get to pick your coach. If you're a tennis pro, Serena Williams gets to pick her coach.
Right.
So there's elements of that now I look back on, and I feel like I did love racing, and I still love racing, and I still think it's an amazing sport. It's just you got to have thick skin.
In this episode's Crested Butte Real Estate Minute, I recently completed my August market report, and once again, the number of sales are down, just like they were in July, and that is mostly due to a very low inventory. You can see my market report by visiting CrestedButteRealEstateAgent.com and going to the tab called The Market. So, the point of all that is if you've been looking to sell, give me a call. I probably have a buyer for you, especially if we're talking about a condo up in Mount Crested Butte or a home down in Gunnison. I'm definitely looking really hard for my buyers in those 2 locations especially. So you can contact me, Frank Consella, by visiting CrestedButteRealEstateAgent.com. And you can also sign up for my newsletters there if you want to see my market reports every month. Thanks so much, and let's get back to the interview with Wendy Fisher.
And so when I got into free skiing, I was
like,
yeah.
I was going to say, that's a perfect segue. So you visit. So you visit Kim Rycombe here?
Yep, I ended up getting here. Didn't know Kim very well. Show up on her doorstep. And then she introduced me to a bunch of people. Her boyfriend was friends with, my now husband, Woody, Sean Crossan, and Steve Winter and Murray Weiss, and all these core locals who... They were just like, oh, let's go. Kim's like, you should go skiing with these guys. And I did. And I remember a friend of mine who is now the head of SIA, Nick Sargent, went to college here, and he was Woody's best friend. So that was that introduction there. And So I just started free skiing around, and people were saying, "Oh, you should do the contest." In '96 was 2 weeks away, so I didn't necessarily plan on getting here to doing a contest. I didn't think I was going to stay here for 2 weeks.
Right.
I ended up having just a blast skiing around here and being shown around and getting to meet people. And then Kim and others were like, "You should enter the contest." I'm like, "No, I'm not here to continue my skiing life. I'm here to quit skiing." But I just want to have fun.
Right.
I'm just trying to have a good time. Anyway, as it got closer, I was still in town, and I'm like, all right, I'm here. Maybe I should do it. I was feeling really chicken and insecure about the whole thing because I'd never seen a contest. I just heard about them.
Yeah.
I didn't really know how they went. And so Kim and people, when I decided I was going to do it, started training me on where to go on the head wall. Really no other venues. They just showed me the head wall, where the girls went, and so I would check it out. I remember Kim was telling me I needed to change my ski technique because I was too aggressive. Too aggressive, too racerish. And her boyfriend, they're like, "You need to stand more upright." And
really?
yeah, because I wasn't there. I don't know if they were trying to pull away from this isn't ski racing. Mm-hmm. But I was on 200 GS with Derby Flex. I had my bent GS poles. I was like right out of racing. And so they showed me the lines where all the girls competed. And that was crossing over Angle Gully on the head wall and skiing to the right. And there's like some rocks you could jump off. And
just a couple rocks, yeah.
Yeah. So competition day comes, and I keep my technique, but I cross over and ski to the right, and every girl did it. Allison Gannett, and Allison won the run. I was behind her. All the girls looked great. And so I grew up with Shane, and Shane happens to be here at this event. So Shane and I...
Was he competing that year, or was he a judge that year?
I think because he definitely wasn't judging, because we were hanging out watching the venue. And so he's down there, and we start watching the guys. And he was later in the seed, so he was down there for the beginning guys and watching them. Yep. And I don't want to sound mean or lame, and hopefully this doesn't come off that way, but I'm standing there watching as the guys start to come. And I mean, I'm from a technical background. Like, I've had the best ski training the world could offer, right? And so I'm watching these guys who have no technical background at all, fully on their tails, coming in hot, hitting things, sticking it and skiing down. I'm like, "Oh my God, Shane, he was awful. Can I do that?" And Shane's like, "Yes." Another guy comes down, and I'm just can't even believe the way he's skiing, and he does something crazy and sticks it. I'm like, "Can I do that?" Shane said yes. He said yes to everything I asked if I could do. So he helped me pick out a new line. He said, "Okay, Wendy,
this is going to be a second run.
Second run. Okay. Yeah, back in the day when we had to do 2 runs.
I was going to say, yeah.
So this is 96. And he's like, "Wendy, you should ski on the ridge of the rocks and get on this rock and air into a little skinny chute that's just enough room for your skis, shoot out of it, and then end up in the opening." And so I go up there. All the girls go right again. Yeah. And it's my turn, and I head right down to where Shane told me. And I remember hearing, I shouldn't say back then, because there still could be a lot of crowds. I just haven't gone to the contest in the last few years, but it was hundreds of people.
No, it was big.
With the barbecues, with everyone drinking, and it was a rager. And I'm heading now to clearly not where all the other girls went, and everyone was freaking out, and I could hear them. And it was back then, you could pause. It wasn't so you need to hit the air, you can't stop. And I stopped, and I just took it all in. I was like, "Holy cow, this is awesome!" Yeah. And so I hit the air. I get in the little track. I get shot out of the end of Angle Gully and make pretty much 3 super G turns down the bottom, and everyone surrounded me, and they were all saying, "We've never seen a girl do that before. We've never seen a girl ski that." I don't know. I mean, that's just what they were all saying to me. I was like, "Wow, that was awesome." I'm like, "Okay." And then Shane's the one who encouraged me to go to SIA. He's like, "You should go to SIA. You should do the rest of the contest." and, go to SIA and promote yourself. I was like, nope, I'm done. Like, I'm on a road trip. My next stop was Bend. Like, am I going to go live in Bend, Oregon or whatever?
Right.
But I had met Woody at the time, and so ended up not winning the contest because I still didn't know staircase to save my life, and kind of got lost and stuck in there. And then Phoenix Spellbound was the next venue, and it was a non-stopper. And
yeah, those were crazy. I can't believe.
Oh yeah, and so I ended up second or third. I wasn't going to continue, and then a few days later, after hanging out with Woody, I'm like, you know what? I'm out of here. I'm going to go drive back home to Tahoe. I'm going to do the rest of the contest, and I'm going to go to SIA and promote myself.
And SIA is a trade show for anyone who doesn't know.
Right, yeah. And it used to be in Las Vegas, and now it's in Denver. And so I went back, and I won Kirkwood. I won Squaw. And I went down to the SIA show, and I was really embarrassed. I felt like I had a dog with a tail between my legs, because I felt so shameful that, here I am, a ski racer at this level. Now I'm going to companies to ask for ski equipment to go free ski, which was not a hot thing.
It wasn't. Okay.
And I felt super embarrassed. And anyway, I think I got a little money at D-Star, and I flew up to Alaska to Valdez, and then I ended up winning the Worlds. And that was the year that Chris Davenport won too. And then, things just changed. I didn't go to college. I didn't get into mountain bike racing, and I just kept skiing.
And then did you move back to Crested Butte right away then? Or how did that work out?
Yeah, I did. Stayed in touch with Woody, and then was like, well, I might as well move back to Crested Butte. I don't know what else to do, And I was told the mountain biking was awesome here, and there was a team. The team, I think, folded that summer. This first summer that I moved here, there was no longer a biking team, but which was fine, because honestly, I needed a break from being so competitive in terms of traveling for events, because that was my whole life.
Right.
So it was my first summer that I wasn't chasing a venue or chasing something, which, skiing, every month we were in a new venue training or racing if it was wintertime.
Sure.
So it was my first time just kind of kicking back, and I wouldn't say I kicked back because I biked hard, but for my pleasure. But it was the first time that I just kind of hung out in one place. And
did you have a job too, or you just?
I did. I got my first job was Paradise Cafe. I worked for Lee.
Nice.
I was the busser, hostess, water girl. And then he introduced me to Jerry Bigelow, who owned the Clean Jumper.
Yeah.
And I started cleaning rooms and making breakfast for there. But those, I think those were my two main jobs in the beginning.
Those are some super typical late 90s jobs. That's awesome.
Yes.
So you kept competing. How long did you compete in freeskiing then?
I took kind of a few years off, but I definitely did a few consecutive years. But then, because I went back up to Worlds and won in 97. So I won 96 and 97. I went to Chamonix and did the event there. But then that is when Matchstick, I remember I was packing up ready after the Chamonix event to go home, come back here. And Marie and Steve came to where I was staying and knocked on the door and are like, do you want to stay and travel with us? I was like, well, I was about to catch a flight, but sure, I'll stay. And so I was with Kent Kreitler and who else? Dean Cummings.
Okay.
So, I just got thrown in the ringer.
What year was
97.
Do you remember the movie? Okay, so was that
Ski movie? No, sure. Pura Vida.
Okay, yeah.
Was that the first one? Yeah, so then I just hopped on board with those guys and started filming.
And was that back in the days where, did you have, the quote-unquote right sponsor, and that's why they,
No.
They weren't, fully tied into sponsorship and all that back then, so they actually could knock on a door and just,
oh, yeah, they could kind of, I remember Steve was like, can you ask for money? I was able to work money out of the companies to help me travel, but no, I was on Smith, and that didn't seem like to be the overhanging thing, because I think Smith and Oakley and MSP was working with all
everybody.
of them. Yeah.
Now I feel like it's more segmented, and maybe that's just my imagination, but I'm pretty sure that's
yes. Warren Miller was very much like that, and Matchstick wasn't so much, but it started slowly to become that way.
Getting that way.
Yeah. It was more just like, do you have the money? Let's go travel. I'd be like, all right, sure, you know?
Right. Yeah. Did you like the filming versus the competing in Big Mountain? Like,
you know, the competing was really good for me because it made me ballsy. It just, you know, you looked at a line, and I wanted to do something that they didn't expect a girl to do, or find a creative line that maybe another girl wouldn't do, or even a guy. Like, I really was into trying to find lines that I thought were pushing the envelope for girls. Since that first event, you know, everyone's like, we've never...
Yeah.
Girls weren't doing that.
Like,
I was like,
cool.
Okay, then that's my mission. Like, that was pretty damn fun. I want to keep trying to push that. So that became really intriguing to me. And definitely that showcased my skiing for Matchstick to even ask me to film. So they went together.
Yeah.
I started to enjoy filming more because it was just fun. You'd be in the middle of nowhere,
it's
finding
better
lines.
Conditions.
Yeah, better conditions. You know, Matchstick would put it together to make you look good, and it was awesome. So I liked it. I loved just traveling, and I ended up traveling more with guys than the girls, and I really liked it. I liked the camaraderie. I liked how they would help me push myself and find lines. And so, I definitely started liking filming better, just because I wouldn't say it's less stress, because it was more stress, but there's a different kind of stress when you compete. You know, a different kind of nerves. And I guess it was just me, myself, and I out with Matchstick, and that was right there.
Yeah, there's a much smaller group.
But I still did both. I mean, I took some time off from competing because, again, I told myself, like, if I start crying in this sport, I'm done. Like, it shouldn't get to that level, right? I'm here for fun.
Yeah.
It was super fun, but then the competition started getting at me. And I remember I was at a Red Bull event. I was invited to Cordova to do a Red Bull event, and it's just like 5 or 6 of us. And I can't remember who came up to me, but like, hey, Wendy, so I just want to let you know, we're all taking a poll, and a pool, sorry, and we're all taking bets on who we think is going to win, and you're winning. And I go, great, you just lost. Like, I am
just
like,
psych me out.
I like to act like I am horrible, that I'm the underdog, and I have a lot to lose, or a lot to gain, or either way. And so him coming up and saying, we all think you're going to win, I'm just like, you just took it out of me. Like, I'm not good with that. And that's why it was so fun in the beginning, and probably why I did so well, because I didn't know what the rules were. I didn't know what I was being judged for. When the competition started getting more about line choice and these are the categories, and we're being tighter about it, when it got more brought to my attention what the judging was and how we're getting stricter about this and that, I started overthinking my lines. Like, what should I do? Is that a tough line that the judges want?
Yeah,
like,
there's a lot more.
I don't know.
Yeah, there's a lot of thinking involved.
Where I used to I had no idea. And the more it was brought to my attention, I started choking more.
Were you overthinking before your run, or also during your run?
I was overthinking what run I was going to do.
Yeah.
When I was in it, but definitely overthinking, like, what should I ski? I don't know what the judges want. And it used to be like what I wanted. Like, what do I want to ski?
Looks fun. Yeah.
And it got flipped, at some point in my career, and it just wasn't as fun anymore. Probably my own doing. But I started to feel the stress, and I started, getting super stressed and crying. I'm like, oh my God, I'm crying. Like, I can't go there. And like, if I cry one more time from feeling the stress or disappointed in my results or whatever, I'm done. And I remember happening again. I'm like, I'm just done. This isn't where I want to go with this either. And, but then I started skiing, filming less. And I remember I was here one winter and not traveling as much. And it was the 2005 was it? And I was skiing the mountain more than I ever had, because even though I was living here, I didn't know the resort very well because I traveled all the time.
You weren't here much. Yeah.
I didn't know Staircase that well. I didn't know what all these lines were called because I was mostly gone. And I skied a ton, and I started feeling really good and confident. I'm like, wow, I haven't skied this much in so long. Finding all these new fun lines and rediscovering a new style of skiing rather than the big open Alaska lines.
Yeah.
And I feel really good. I think I might compete again. And I believe it was 2004, and I won. And I was like, wow, because I'd never even won here before. And I started in 96, but I probably only competed maybe 5 times here. And I felt so good. And this mountain, it's like, wow, it just made me a better skier. And it's just a new transition. Like, wow, I'm still getting better, when I thought, I was kind of at the end of whatever that was, so it was really cool. And it turned out I was pregnant with my son, like 3 months pregnant. And then 2005, I came back and competed, and I got second, and but still feel great because I wasn't traveling a lot and skiing. And but that was the last contest I think I did.
The last one, yeah.
Possibly.
Why'd you end up stopping? Or it's just time?
Probably.
And stopping filming too, I guess, both of them. Or was it just
filming just became expensive. It got, so then it's that whole era of now you have park and pipe, and that's the cool sport. Oh, I'm a big mountain skier. No one was really paying big. It was hard to get a good contract if you're a big mountain skier and weren't jibbing. And that's when the X Games came on board, and, in 98 was X Games. I did the first women's skier cross in the X Games. That was here. Yeah. But I didn't like skier cross. I was surrounded by too many aggro ski racing girls.
Well, everybody got hurt too.
I got hurt. Allison got hurt.
I was going to say, everybody got hurt.
We all got hurt. But what was frustrating, I did the Gravity Games skier cross, and I did a few skier cross competitions, and that has come a long way. But if you didn't win the start, you didn't win. Unless you fell. You couldn't pass. The turns were so tight. There was no passing zones. I was a horrible starter, but then I'd be snow plowing behind the person who was in front of me, and I just couldn't pass them because it's just bank turns. Right. And this is no fun. Now, when you see, there's passing zones. The airs are much wider. It's much more exciting because you have a lot of back and forth action going on. Yeah. But I felt in the first handful of years it wasn't that way. So I was like, I'd rather it be me, myself, and I on the mountain rather than having 5 people around me that I could get caught up with and have a collision with. Yeah. So, the money got hard. And basically, with Matchstick, you had to pay your way. So if I didn't get a good retainer, it wasn't financially worth it. And now I have a baby. It didn't make sense. And, but I missed it. I remember looking at Axel like, why the hell am I here with you? I could be on heli skiing. I'm like, what did I do? No. It was a new transition I was ready for and stuff. Yeah.
And then since then, you still ski, you still do some coaching, some speaking. So how was that? How was that part of your ski career?
Well, so when I left ski racing, I remember thinking, what else? I thought it was a bummer. Here, I spent so much time and energy becoming this level of a skier, and now there's nothing. And not to discredit ski instructing, because that is what I do now. I help people become better skiers, and I love it. But at 24, that was not where I wanted my energy to go. So falling into the whole free skiing world, that was perfect. And I remember someone, Franz Weber, who is an Austrian who was part of the pro tour and raced, and his best friend's Franz Klammer, and he put high-end trips together, and he lives in Reno, so kind of in my own home turf, and he would run into me and be like, Wendy, you should come along on these trips, you ski with people, we wine and dine them. I'm like, one, I don't drink a lot. That's changed. I drink now, but I wouldn't say a lot. I didn't like to stay up late. I had to work out. I was still obsessive. I still had ski team issues of training hard. And I'm like, I don't know how to teach people, and I don't even want to bother. So that was not then. I needed to get this whole other thing out. Sure. And then as time went on, more and more people were like, Wendy, can you teach me? Can you tell me what to do? And I'm like, well, yeah, let me think about this. So I started thinking about it more and more, how I ski, because a lot of people are like, oh my God, you're a beautiful skier. How do you ski that way? You make it look effortless. I'm like, I don't know. I'll work on that. I'll think about it. And so I started to analyze my skiing a lot. And like, how do I ski? What do I do? What are my movements? And then Franz Weber, finally one time, he asked me again. He never gave up. I'm like, you know what, Franz, I'm ready. I don't mind staying up late, and I can live without a workout. I can drink wine. I can socialize, and I actually enjoy helping people get better. And so I travel with Franz Weber. He's taken me on some trips, or hired me. And then I was able to work out when Ken Stone was here, my own contract to be the ambassador and teach privately my own lessons. And last year was one of my best years, just traveling the world skiing with people, working on their skiing and teaching here too. So I actually love it now, and it's super fun to try to help build people's confidence, work with people's fear, because what people don't realize is I was scared shitless every time I was on top of a venue, whether it was a competition or filming. But I still did it, and I'd be like, why the hell am I here? Why am I doing this? And I would work on my own montage of things to say to myself to build myself up of why I got to be there or should be here. Trying to analyze the fear that you feel when you're doing something that is high risk and you can hurt yourself. And so I actually got really interested in not just helping people become technically better skiers, but helping them find confidence and believe in themselves, because when you're an average skier, there's so much doubt because there's so many obstacles that give them reason to be fearful. And so I enjoy working with that as part of my teaching. So I feel like I'm not just trying to have you be a better skier. I'm trying to have you just get over mentally overcoming this lack of confidence or things that you have. So I got really into that, and I love it. And that's mostly what I do now. And when I can, I've been in Warren Miller movies here and there when it works out. And I still like that. And what else have I been doing? I do some talking, which I love and I want to get more into. Trent Sanderson always hires me every summer to talk to his athletes, team prep. And I do a few talks every year, and I really like that because I'm very open and honest about all of the issues that I went through ski racing and free skiing. And it's, none of it's easy, and it's a mind twist, and it's trying to dig deep and find that confidence to push through stuff. Or if you don't be so hard on yourself, And I've come to terms, and I know why. So my era is Peekaboo Street. Peekaboo was one of, her name stands out, so that's really easy to remember her. But she had some great success. And holy cow, she was a bulldog. Her head was just screwed on tight. And I reflect back, I'm like, I know that was a difference. I don't know how I could have ever had the mentality of Peekaboo. I mean, she was a different person. I don't think that wasn't my personality, And I've come to terms with it.
Have you met like Lindsay or Shiffrin?
I haven't. I just met Mikaela recently.
Did she have the same
she
thing that you could see in Peekaboo, or not?
She was very bubbly and nice, and not that Peekaboo's not, but so I don't want that to come off weird. But I don't know Mikaela enough. I don't know Mikaela on the traveling terms. She was very easy to communicate with and super nice.
Gotcha.
Lindsay was not as bubbly as nice, but she was more of what I remember, more of like a Peekaboo. For sure. And I don't believe that every athlete has to be like that.
No.
But I could see the empowerment that they had in their heads to move forward. But free skiing was my thing. So I feel like, it was just my element of, I didn't have a coach. I traveled with who I wanted to. I could be nonchalant and goofy and fun, but I could still have my A game from my racing past of when it got to the task, I could put that drive and energy in. And I mentally was super strong in the free skiing world for a while. But I think because it was just so fun and carefree, and that helped my confidence because it felt like I belonged.
Right.
I was starting to feel like I didn't belong in racing anymore.
Right.
And then the free skiing world became my new platform that I could grow with.
Yeah. You didn't have a coach, but did Woody go with you to a lot of events? Because he's a great skier too.
Yeah. No, but we freeze. Yeah, I shouldn't say I didn't have a coach because Woody did. I mean, I remember when I first came here to free ski, I was taught as a ski racer not to skid your turns, not to slide,
you gotta skid your turns.
To hold that edge. So I remember on the North Face, I'm trying to follow Woody and all these guys, and I was in the back seat and I was skiing horrible. I'm like, oh my God. I mean, I thought I was a better skier, but I can't even hang on. Mm-hmm. And definitely Woody helped me, like in steep chutes, had a certain technique tweaking things. Mm-hmm. And another photographer, oh gosh, I'm forgetting his name and I shouldn't. It'll come to me. But basically, I remember doing my first photo shoot and I wasn't making any snow fly.
Right.
So I was arcing a turn. Yeah. And my photos were horrible. And I still, to this day, I do not claim I'm good at photos. I was definitely more of a filmer in the moment. If you take me aside and wanted to shoot stills, I do them, obviously, but most of them I don't like. I don't think I'm nearly as good because I did not know how to slide or give into that. Yeah. But the photographer's like, Wendy, you need to slide your turns.
Yeah, you need to throw the tail out and make some stuff.
I'm like, I was taught to never do that. Are you kidding me? And I still, to this day, I don't feel like I've had the most amazing photos because of that. I have loosened up, and definitely when I free ski, I teach people, I'm like, slide your tails, and it's okay to, slide into position and this and that. But for photos, I always really struggled with that. Because it's ingrained. But we did not have a coach, but I felt like there was such camaraderie that people would help each other out. And it wasn't like you needed a coach. You just palled around with friends and you would watch them or learn from them. It was like everyone was coaching together. It was such a supportive environment. And you were there like, guys supported girls and girls supported girls and girls. Everybody wanted to see everyone ski awesome. Yeah. Because it was so really fun to watch. Yeah. You would see a line, you're like, no way. I remember in Kirkwood, it was my third contest ever. After Crested Butte, then Squaw, and I'm in Kirkwood. And I was looking at, right off the start, you could catch air right from the very start into the slope, and I'm looking over at it, and Kristen Kramer, who's like one of the most badass guides in the world, if you were to go to Alaska, I don't know if you remember her name, she was competing back in the day, and she came over, I didn't even know who she was, but she leaned over where I was, and she said, if there's any girl that can do this, it's you. And I looked at her, I was like, holy cow, did that just come out of your mouth? I'm like, are you kidding me? I can't believe you just said that. Like, wow. And I did that line, and I won, But it was just so fresh and new and raw for everybody. Everyone supported each other. Yeah. It was really cool.
Yeah, definitely. Let's start to wrap it up a little bit. But you have kids now, so they're skiers. But do you see a ski career in their future too, or are they?
No, I think Woody's my biggest goal because there's some ski racers who haven't even introduced their kids to ski race. They're so burned on the sport. Sure. But we just want our kids to be good skiers so that we can travel the world. And we did that last spring. Last spring, because Europe had such a great winter, we're like, we should go over ski in Europe. And we took them to Chamonix and Verbier. And they were able to just look at the mountains and appreciate it. I didn't when I was that age. I traveled in Europe and didn't even notice the mountains. That's crazy to say. Wow. Like, I was just ski racing. I was in my moment. But we could take the boys anywhere. We took them up the Guida Midi and took them down Valley Blanche. And they just soaked it up and loved it. I'm like, oh my God, this is why. And we just believe strongly in the race program because we just feel through our years of watching skiing that just it's a great foundation to have. Sure. And for everything. So yes, we steered him into the racing direction. The goal was, no, I don't, if you get on the U.S. ski team, great, whatever. I really don't care. I don't care if you race in college. I just want us to all love skiing and be able to ski together.
Yeah.
We don't have anyone left behind. And luckily, they both love skiing. It took Devin a while, but my youngest, but and Axel's my oldest. But we are one tight skiing family now, and it's a fun sport. And that was the main goal. If they want to now, they are intrigued about the big mountain contests, and they do want to do them. We definitely have been like, we want you to be at a good skill level. Not that they can't get that in free skiing, but yeah, if you want to do a big mountain contest of a certain age where you can understand the consequences of doing something that might really hurt you, then I don't care if you do free skiing contests. We think we're getting there. But yeah, if they become skiers, I mean, it's not as financially awesome as people might think. So, I mean, honestly, I hope they figure something else out. But we did introduce the sport to them, and we'll just have to suck it up if that's what their drive is. But it's more of just like a fun, awesome passion that we wanted to pass on. And we hooked them, and that's awesome. I wish we kind of maybe steered him to golf or tennis, but whatever.
That's why a whole bunch of us live here in Crested Butte because we got hooked and can't give it up.
Yes.
So.
Yeah, and it is so much fun, honestly, to ski with your kids and laugh and have powder runs together. Yeah. It's a whole new other element for sure.
Yeah. Yeah, and they're just starting to get to that level, I'm sure.
Yeah,
so It's got to be cool. Crested Butte is home for you, so why did you end up staying here, and why not? Yeah.
Well, okay, it was still because a guy who I met, Woody Lindemeyer, and so I came here when I left ski racing. I was really obsessed with working out. And I heard about backcountry skiing, and I hear that you can skin for hours up a hill and then ski down. And I was like, oh my God, I want to meet a backcountry skier someday. Like, that sounds right up my alley. And I met Woody. So moved here. And I mean, for the first handful of years, like I said, I didn't ski much on the mountain. We backcountryed a lot, snowmobiled way out, traveled a lot, and did tons of backcountry skiing. Less lift service for sure. Now I'm definitely more lift service and less backcountry, but I want to get back into it. The boys have a setup now. It's just, we're all busy on the weekend. We have a real family life dynamic of trying to squeeze a lot in and not have enough time.
Yeah.
So I ended up here, and honestly, it's just an awesome place. I do sometimes think about Tahoe, or I did a lot in the beginning because I missed the lake, because I was a lake person, and
yeah, Blue Mesa.
I know, it sounds so snobby, and I feel bad that I was like this back a long time ago. But one, boats are expensive, and two, the Blue Mesa's 45 minutes away. I'm sounding so lame and pathetic right now, but I grew up. Literally, the boat entrance was a 3-minute drive, and my dad could stand on his tippy toes and see if there's whitecaps or not. No whitecaps, okay, we'll go. And it was and I was and it was water skiing back then. There wasn't much else. Just like how skiing was a long time ago. You either did bumps, or you did aerials, or you did ski racing. Now there's snowboarding and free ride and all these other things. So now in water skiing, it's not just water skiing. There's the surf and the wakeboarding, and so I kind of missed that whole transition. And I was a water skier, and you don't go unless the lake is calm, and to spend 45 minutes to drive down there, and then it's windy, and you don't water ski. So that just put me in that rut of I just never really did it much. Now I regret it. Now I'm like, oh my God, I want a boat, but I'm more into all the other water activities you can do with it now.
Yeah. I mean, there's a lot to do. Yeah, I mean, the biking too, and everything else. So it's
honestly, I still, and I'm sure you do it too, and all the people who still are hardcore. I wouldn't say locals, but people who are dedicating and living here, because it is out of the way and it is small, and we don't have lots of shopping and all those great things that you have in a city that we don't think is great, obviously. But I still be on a bike ride going, thank God I live here. Like that's awesome. You look at the mountains and you look. I feel like it's a really unique community. I go to other mountain towns a lot, and I still find like the way this town is set up is very much quaint and You get to hang out. I mean, in Vail, you don't get to hang out. It's just a drive-through. No one hangs out like we hang out here,
right? Yeah.
And take it slow. Breckenridge, I don't think has the same feel. I don't know. And
There's a handful of them, but not many. Yeah,
not many. And I just feel like it is. It's really cool. I think I said it in Warren Miller one time that we might be a small town, but we live large. I feel like people really give it their all when they're here, but we don't need all the eccentric outside things that to make it feel like to survive. You don't need it. You don't. Yeah. It's nice to not feel like you have to have it all.
Where can people learn more about you? Is it like a website or whatever?
Yeah, I have a website, fishski.com, and you can go to, you can Google Wendy Fisher Supermom. It's a short little 10-minute film or documentary, I don't know what you would call it, but it won a Powder Award for Best Short. Mike Douglas produced it for his company. And so that's a kind of a small synapse of my life in 10 minutes. But, and then, I don't know where else.
I'm sure Instagram.
Facebook.
All that stuff.
Yes, I post, I don't post. I get into it and then I get out of it.
That's a good way to be. Don't make that into another competition that you have to worry about.
Oh, God, no. Yeah, it is hard.
Yeah. All right, so last question. Who else should I interview?
Okay, so I thought of Dave Kozlowski because he is a sweetheart, super gentle, awesome guy who's been here forever, who loves skiing, and through a roundabout way, his passion was photography growing up, but of course he went into the real world of work and then was able to kind of miss that passion and rediscovered it, and now you can see all through the valley his photos that he's been putting out, and they're just beautiful, and it's fun to see his passion grow. It was really cool to watch him start to slowly get into it and make something of himself in the valley of tons of photographers, and it just to see how much he loves it and how great he's being with it and creative.
Awesome. Yeah, I'll definitely interview him, and it's almost lake skating seasons.
Oh, I know. Yes, he's a big, totally. He's like the king of it.
Yeah, totally. So, awesome. Well, thanks so much, Wendy.
No, well, thanks, and sorry if I talk so much.
No, it's perfect. Awesome.
If anyone's still listening.
They will, for sure.
Okay.
Thanks for listening to the Crested Butte is Home podcast with your host, me, Frank Consella. And if you've missed any episodes, you can go to CrestedButteIsHome.com and find all the episodes there, as well as real estate information. And you can also find Crested Butte is Home on your favorite podcast player. And if you've been enjoying the show, maybe consider sharing it on Facebook or Instagram so your friends will know about it as well. I'd really appreciate that. And I will see you again in a couple of weeks with another episode. And thanks again